Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
The organization, the lead up right now, everybody's putting their lists together, doing mock drafts. It's going to change the CFL draft. And I'm going to talk to TSN about putting together what I call a yellow light, red light list. Meaning, if a guy gets drafted, a CFL eligible guy gets drafted in the NFL, I'd put him on a red light list because he is never coming up. And I'm not, to me, that's a red light. You should probably stop. If he goes as a priority free agent, or maybe he's drafted in the 7th round or a priority free agent, he's on a bright yellow light flashing of be aware, you're probably not going to see him for 3 or 4 years. If he signs with a team as a free agent, he's on a yellow light, be cautious. You might get him in 2 years. And if he goes to a rookie camp, you can not count it. So you have all these different levels of players in the CFL and that make the NFL draft. It's why the CFL drafts after the NFL, because they'll have their draft on, it'll end on Saturday, Sunday. They'll sign all their free agents that they're going to sign and bring. They have these rookie camps where they're not actually under contract. They just go. I had a rookie camp guy a couple of years ago, Corey Greenwood, a Canadian from Concordia, who I drafted 3rd overall, didn't think he was going to get any NFL things. And we were a week out. He had an agent named Jonathan Hardaway, who's sadly passed away, but he was big on holding his guys out. So he was trying to hold him out for an extra week to get him extra money. Well, on his own dollar, Corey drove to Kansas City to one of these rookie camps, and they loved him. He played 5 years. I didn't see him for 5 years back in the CFL. So, that's the way things can happen in this league.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was fascinated last week that Jerry was pounding Egg McMuffins like it was his job and dosing them with salt because he didn't care because he's 80.
How about that?
So what better, shrimp cocktail or Egg McMuffin? Don't waste our time. It's Egg McMuffin all day. And don't get me started about those puny little cocktail rings that you buy. They're disgusting. Egg McMuffin's good anywhere. That's right.
It's the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, it is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new week. It's a Monday, and we're coming at you blazing a trail on WQEE Radio Atlanta, Game Plus TV, and the streams. Beautiful day to be talking sports for the next 2 hours. Let's bring in the Moose. Just so you all know, I remain in Florida. Moose remains in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Coming up on the program today, a lot of hockey guys. Clark, if you can write me in the WhatsApp, despite all our excitement, Darren, in the morning meetings, the conversations we've had, the guests are Rich Sutter, who needs no introduction, Scott Laughlin from NHL Radio, and Ryan Leslie from Sportsnet Flames. I don't really know what segments they're in. So just write me, Clark. You don't got to tell me now. We never talked about when they're coming in. What I do know is it's me and Darren right now for the warm-up and the Quick Six show topics. Can you hit the show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll go. You'd think we would have talked about that, but no. It's on me. I should have brought it up because I'm the quarterback. How does he not know where the receivers are running? It's on me. We're opening, Darren, with NHL leftovers, and we start in Winnipeg. Because I saw our gal Jo Madden putting a poll up, and I would have liked to have used this question, but I didn't want to steal it from her. She said, what was the best game on Sunday in the Stanley Cup playoffs? It's not even a debate. It was in Winnipeg. Adam Lowry and Kyle Connor each scored twice to propel the Winnipeg Jets to a 7-6 win over Colorado in Game 1 of their first-round series. A sold-out crowd of 15,225 white-clad fans had plenty to cheer about at the whiteout parties inside and outside Canada Life Center. Mark Scheifele had a goal and 2 helpers. Josh Morrissey registered a goal and an assist. Vladislav Nemestikov also scored. Connor Hellebuck made 40 saves for the Jets, who were on a 9-game win streak. Here's my take. Number one, Pat McAfee was clearly watching it because he said, that barn is bananas. Something like that. Pat McAfee, who is a hockey fan, and I believe the game was on ESPN2. That's where I watched it. It was insane. We all watched bing, 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 goals like crazy. And I think it was 3-3 after the first period. And I swear to God, this is what I think Rick Bowness said, the head coach of the Jets. He said, guys, if we stop giving the puck away, we're going to win this hockey game. Because after the first period, they completely locked it down. But it ended 7-6. That thing was a grease fire. What did you think of the game?
I know. It was a grease fire, man, but it was awesome. Like a large, there's only one way. I mean, there's not one way, but for me to sit and watch all those games, it's hard to just sit in one spot, especially for somebody with ADD or ADHD like I have, to sit in one spot and just lock in. So, the TV's there. I got to get up. I'm doing the dishes, watching over here. With that game, I couldn't leave the couch. That's what I thought. I couldn't leave. Leanne was in the other room being like, hey, can you grab me? I'm like, I can't do anything for you because I might miss a goal. That's how awesome that game was, man. It was fun.
As we learned last week with the NHL announcing a $6.2 billion gross profit this season and television ratings up the highest in 30 years, they don't need any help. But I would have called it Super Sunday. It literally, the TV commercials would be this. Hey, NFL, we'll see your 9 hours a day and raise you 12 hours a day. 4 consecutive games. Now, I'm going to get into the other games and what my thing was here in Sunrise, Florida, but I literally closed my eyes for 5 minutes in the Colorado-Winnipeg game. Bing, bing. Open my eyes. The Colorado Alum scored twice? What? I only had my eyes closed for 2 minutes. You know exactly when I closed my eyes because it was insane. Yeah.
You were watching on a different network, but the goals were coming so fast that it was like 1-0. All of a sudden it's 2-1. Then it's 2-2, but the scoreboard changed to 3-3. Like the scoreboard on Sportsnet was like getting ahead. Couldn't keep up with the scoring. It was kind of fun in the first period.
So it's not even a debate, but I will go, which was the best game, but I'll go through the other ones. In Vancouver, Dakota Joshua scored twice and had an assist, and Vancouver stormed back for a 4-2 win over Nashville in Game 1. In New York, Jimmy Vesey. In my head, Sam Rosen, the voice of the Rangers voice, is saying, Jimmy Vesey had a goal and an assist. Artemi Panarin also scored. And the New York Rangers beat Washington 4-1 in Game 1 of their first-round playoff series. And here in Sunrise, did you see the goal, Carter Verhaeghe? That was like a NBA-style alley-oop goal from Carter Verhaeghe. He tapped in a pinpoint pass from Alexander Barkov for the lead 58 seconds into the third. Matthew Tkachuk had a goal and a helper. And the Florida Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 in Game 1 of their NHL playoff series opener Sunday. So I was talking with John Acosta today, the national anthem singer for the Florida Panthers. He's like, wasn't that wild yesterday? And I said, bro, I'm going back and watching the video of it again, of what went on in Sunrise last night at American Bank Arena. The batons, they weren't towels, they were batons that the Panthers handed out for everybody last night. It was just insane. I swear to God, if you have a chance to go to a playoff opener, it's a little late now. Some teams will open their series tonight. Go. Because that first game, I guess for the two that are, if you're hosting Game 3, you can still get to those games. That first playoff game, there's extra juice in it. Extra juice. And I know that Dave Randorf's watching right now because he said he was going to, the voice of the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's funny because Serena and I were sitting in the postgame news conferences, which I don't normally do. I don't normally stay, but because it's the Cup, I wanted to watch the postgame news or live, sit in the room with John Cooper and Paul Maurice and also Carter Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk. And Dave Randorf, who everybody knows watching, but I'll say it just because, former CFL voice, now the voice of the Tampa Bay Lightning, he came into the room and he's like, I came in to see you. Came in to see you. And Dave came and sat down right beside me, and we had a big old time, a great visit. He's like, what'd you think about the game? Tampa didn't play well. They did not play well at all. And I meant to make a note of who the bad penalty was on the Lightning. Like, it was a chintzy penalty that Verhaeghe scored the winner on. Both coaches said the difference in the game was a power play goal, but John Cooper didn't rip the ref because of it. And I'll just say this, Darren, and this will be the end of my TED Talk. I am so much more comfortable analyzing hockey versus football because I played ref and coached it. Football, I didn't do any of those things. So I'll say this. as we just opened the Stanley Cup playoffs coming out of the opening weekend. Listen closely, Darren, because it reminds me of the Kadarius Toney situation with the Chiefs. Remember? Where he was a foot, 6 inches offside, and they had a touchdown called back because he was 6 inches. His foot was lined up 6 inches offside, and they called it back. I wasn't totally comfortable discussing that. Here I am. If you chop a guy's legs out, give him a little whack after the whistle, and you get a penalty for it in the playoffs, you can't bitch about the call being made because it's black and white. If you got a speeding ticket for going 107, the speeding limit, kilometers, the speeding limit is 100, right? Don't blame a ref for doing his job. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. It was a weak one. Stamkos got a hooking penalty that didn't even graze the guy with his stick, but yeah, by the letter of the law. Do you know what I'm saying? If it's a penalty, don't bitch. It doesn't matter the time, the situation, the playoffs or not. You can't bitch about it. That's my thoughts. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mostly agree. I think that's right. I think in the playoffs, it's a tougher game. A lot more is allowed, especially for me if it doesn't really, take away a scoring chance or lead to a scoring chance or really affect the game. I'm not a fan of it being called, but you can't complain when it's called, especially when you take some guy's legs out. That's a penalty. When you're hooking, slashing, all the rest. We saw it in the Leaf Boston game, going back to Saturday night when Max Domi got Brad Marchand on the wrist. If he gets him in the gloves or on the stick, it's probably not a penalty. But that's the risk you're taking by playing that kind of, I don't want to say dirty, but that kind of like physical, agitating style of play. You're taking a risk that if you miss by a couple of inches and get the wrist instead of the pad, you're going to get called. And the Leafs took some bad penalties like that in game one.
Oh, look at you. You can't wait to get into the Leafs. We're going to get into the Leafs. Don't worry about it. I get it. You're the Leaf fan in the house. And producer Clark. Ryan in upstate New York writes that he says, good day, Rod Squad. Wow, what a playoff, huh? Ryan, it's game one. That's fine. It was a hell of a start. Let's put it that way. On a Super Sunday. The NHL can call it whatever it wants because they've never made more money than they currently have. But I think they missed out by not calling it Super Sunday. 12 straight hours of hockey. Oh, so good when it hits your lips. Daniel Swanson writes in and says, go, Jets, go. From Navy Dawn. He writes in and says, Jets and heart. Way to go, lads. Trying to keep my mind, trying to keep it all on track here. I will say something about John Cooper. He's a Notre Dame Hound grad. He graduated Notre Dame College, same year as my brother, 1986. And I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for both these coaches, Paul Maurice and John Cooper, but a lot more respect, even if it was possible, for John Cooper, because there's a writer here, Darren, for Florida Hockey Now, the Associated Press. One guy, Florida Hockey Now, Associated Press, and I think the Hockey News. 3 things he represents. Colby Guy. He just came out last week and said he's been dealing with autism his whole life because the Panthers had their autism awareness night. He's like, I think it's a good time to announce that I've been diagnosed with autism. I've been battling it since I got diagnosed at 16. The kid works his ass off. Colby Guy. He's in the front row of the news conference last night, and he says to John Cooper, because the Lightning didn't have a shot for the first 16 minutes of the game, Darren. I don't know if you were noticing. They didn't have a shot for the first 16 minutes of the game. Colby goes, how important was it for you, coach, for your team to weather that storm, not having a shot and get out of the period 1-1? John looks at him and goes, good question. And then he went in, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And I'm like, not that John knows the guy was dealing with autism, but I was like, way to go, Colby. I don't know that Colby played hockey or even knew, but it was a smart question. And John, his team had just lost. It was an iffy call. You know what I mean? And he was very calm about it. I'm like, that's pretty damn cool, because I've just been around so many coaches losing their steam. You know what I mean? Losing their head. And that wasn't John Cooper yesterday, and I think that's cool.
I love John Cooper. I love him for that. I love the way he thinks the game, the way he handles the media. John Cooper just oozes class, leadership, all these things that you want. I don't see him behind closed doors, but there's a reason why this team, well, maybe not as talented as they had been when they went on their run of, consecutive trips to the Stanley Cup finals and winning their Stanley Cups. They're always going to be in the mix and have a chance, I think, because of John Cooper and the culture he has there. I love everything about John Cooper. I really do. I haven't seen everything, but everything that I have seen is great, and this is another example.
I'm just going to drop in a baseball note and for everybody. Rich Sutter, Scott Laughlin, and Ryan Leslie are the guests today, so it's pretty much all hockey, just so you know. But I got to put in some other topics because that's what we do here. Quick Six Show topics. Point 2, Joe Musgrove pitched 7 strong innings for the first time since July 4th, and Xander Bogaerts homered as the San Diego Padres beat the Blue Jays 6-3 Sunday to avoid a 3-game sweep. In L.A., Dodgers slugger Shohei Ohtani's broken Hideki Matsui's record for the most homers hit by a Japanese-born player in Major League Baseball history. Ohtani crushed a 2-run homer deep into the right field bleachers off Adrian Hauser of the Mets in the 3rd inning at Dodger Stadium. The homer was the 176th of Ohtani's career. That's one more than Matsui. So I'll roll into point 3. There are 4 games tonight. Oiler fans will get to you. A pivotal one is in Boston tonight, where the Bruins will be aiming to grab a 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 series against the Leafs. Oilers open Game 1 hosting the Kings. The Dallas Stars start their playoffs with a visit from the Golden Knights, and the Islanders will be aiming for a split when they visit the Carolina Hurricanes, who won Saturday's opening game 3-1. Leafs lost 5-1. I didn't think they were as bad as their coach made them sound the other night. Sheldon Keefe after the game saying our power play was slow, disconnected. I think they're considering a goaltender change tonight. I don't know, man. You got 90 seconds before we got a break, and we'll pick it back up, but are the Leafs as unraveled and disjointed as it would seem after a 5-1 Game 1 loss?
I don't think so. Weird things happening. William Nylander not playing, Bobby McMahon not playing. The special teams was bad, and that's been a bit of a storyline. Power play not great. Penalty kill really not great. But you know what? I don't hate their game. Really physical. I thought they were an agitating, setting that tone against Boston. So I think over the course of the series, that physical play, that agitation, that'll benefit them. But there's just not a lot of poise in that group. Many times when they whiffing on passes out of the zone, making a couple of little mistakes like that on clearing attempts and passing attempts, where Boston, they can withstand that pressure and they play with poise, make the key play out of the zone, capitalize on mistakes, and make you pay. It's a long series. It's one game. It was in Boston.
Yeah.
I don't think they should panic, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Sure, and if they don't win this series, I think Sheldon Keefe should be fired. That's just me saying it. I'm not a Leaf fan, but I think I look at it a little unbiased. We got a lot to get to that we haven't yet. I do want to say this. I saw this thing on Twitter going around yesterday, and it was kind of fun. People were just tweeting, where all have you lived in your life? And it's fun for people to get to know not only us, the hosts, but let's get to know the viewers, too. That'll be a bit of a theme, a secondary theme, as we roll through the show today. Where all have you lived? You can write it in the YouTube stream if you're watching on the streaming. You can text me, 902-518-3033 for the Sober Carpenter text line. And Darren, here's mine, then I want to hear yours, and then we'll open it up to the viewers. They can just write in. Don't expect me to read theirs, but for me, in order, Milestone, Saskatchewan, Calgary, Alberta, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan, and Boca Raton, Florida. That's mine. 6 places that I've got my mail. You, quick?
Wynyard to Saskatoon to Regina to Rosetown to Chetwynd, BC, back to Wynyard, then to Saskatoon, then to Regina, and now to Mississauga. That's 9. I've been everywhere, man.
I've been everywhere. So, yeah, where have you got your mail, everybody? Write it in. I want to know. I want to know. We'll be back. It's the Quick Six Show topics, and we're only halfway through. Live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment, IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Guilty as charged. Thank you, Rick Regan. And I appreciate everybody writing in with their answer to the poll question. I've had to do a couple things in the break, so I haven't had a chance to look at what everybody's saying about where they've lived. But I'll get around to everybody. And let's please bring the Moose back in. I haven't mentioned this, and I should, not yet today. Reward your love of movies by signing up for Landmark Extras today for free. Get more of what you love, free movies and concession items, invitations to exclusive screenings, and more, including special events. There are 3 programs to choose from to fit your lifestyle. Go to landmarkcinemas.com right now and sign up for free. Before we go any further, I did not say what the poll question is as we head into Game 2 tonight, Bruins and Leafs, and I think that would be a good time to do it. The poll question is, and it was Clark's idea, what is the, well, how did we word that, Clark? What's the worry level? How do we say it? What's the concern level? Thank you. Sorry. High, moderate, or low? And I had tweeted that on the break. That was one of the things I forgot to do going into the show. 63% of respondents saying it's high. High, high. 21% say low, and moderate 16%. And by the way, here's a little behind-the-scenes stuff of the RP show. Moose was having coffee this morning with Peter Labardius, the peerless voice of the Calgary Flames, who he's not anymore. He's working with the Flames in another capacity. But when this came up, this topic, Lou's face, as only those who would know him, he was like, whoa, it's high. Is that how you're voting? The Leafs' concern level should be very high, down 1-0 to Boston? No. What do you think?
No, it should be moderate. Should be moderate. Like your spidey senses should be flared up, but it shouldn't be that concerning yet. Look at the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs. They meet in the playoffs. It's going 7 games, which means you're going to lose at least 3 times, maybe 4. So you know what? A loss happens in game 1. Not a big deal. It was in Boston. It was a rowdy place to play. You know, you had a good start that was really physical, and then they scored right away after that on a little mistake by Ryan Reeve. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you should be a little concerned because the game really on the scoreboard didn't end up being very close.
Yeah. I shouldn't have stuck my head in here in the comments because then it doesn't come out from the audience. John Ohm, with regard, these are the P1s. These are the Rod Squad. These are the people that watch every day. These are the most important people of this show. John Ohm says, Yorkton, Regina, Medicine Hat, and Winnipeg. Kevin the Medium writes in, says Vancouver, Port Coquitlam, Burnaby, Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, Kelowna, West Bank, Kamloops, Calgary, and finally Airdrie. And I'll read one more. Utah Darren writes in and he says, South Jordan, Utah, Cedar City, Utah, South Jordan, Utah, St. George, Utah, Harriman, Utah. Best trip was to London, England. I didn't ask you people where was your best vacation. I asked you where have you lived. And that's why I very clearly stated before the break, where have you got your mail? So let's please try to stay on point. And by the way, Corey in Winnipeg writes in, just to troll Leaf fans, writes 1967. And what's interesting about that, you can say whatever you want, troll each other as much as you want, but it's not fair to Wee Willie Nylander or Matt Sundin or Wendell Clark, for that matter, to bring up 1967. And to be honest, the guy that really hit that home to me was Troy Westwood, the Hall of Fame bomber kicker. I don't know that he's in any Hall of Fame, but he's in mine. When he was on the radio in Winnipeg, TSN 1290 for so many years, he was so good, Darren. I don't think people knew how good the guys were on that station until they shut the doors. But Westwood was talking about the Blue Bombers and the 30-year drought. And he's like, don't blame these guys on this year's Winnipeg team that they haven't won a championship since 1990. Do you know what I mean? So not that Corey in Winnipeg is doing that. He's just trolling. But it's like this. Believe it or not, I'm going to land the plane. If you can't underestimate the hunger level of a series. And that's why I think you really need to follow a sport to really know what's going on. For me to bet on NBA would be dumb because I don't know who's hungry and who's not. But don't underestimate the hunger of the Boston Bruins after being embarrassed in round 1 last year. Not only was it the biggest upset ever in NHL history by Florida, but it was the biggest choke job ever by a team, and Boston did it. Nobody talks about that out of respect for Boston, but it's a fact. So they're really hungry. Carolina, same thing. Maybe that's why they were the DraftKings odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup going in. I don't get it, but they were. I don't think they are anymore. Dallas is. And they're pretty hungry too, Dallas, right? Having been to the altar but not getting married. And my point on all this is I think the Bruins are hungrier than the Leafs. We're going to find out. This series isn't over, but is that a factor to you? You're very good. You have a feel for these things. Is hunger a factor to you in picking a winner?
It is. You know, hunger really matters, and it's hard to explain to somebody that doesn't understand or hasn't been in the moment and can really see it. You know, things we talk about: poise, hunger, those X factors, things that don't appear on the score sheet or on paper. You can tell it's hard, right? Learning how to win. The adversity. And I think when you're part of, a fan base, and you really watch the games, you can feel in your gut and in your soul whether your team has a chance to come back when they're down a goal. Even if they don't, you can feel whether they have that hunger, that heart, that drive to come back, or you can feel when there's no chance. So it's a hard thing, but Boston definitely has the hunger. They definitely have a hunger and poise, and those are things you need in the playoffs.
Just not sure that the Leafs have it. They're such a weird team. You know, I live for the press box discussions. I had one last night with a pro scout. I don't want to say the team, but he said, listen, I'm sitting there surfing my phone, and this big hand just boom, on the back of my neck. I'm like, and it was a friend of mine, pro scout, and we sat and had a long chat for like half an hour. And he was like, what were the Panthers doing here on Tuesday beating the Leafs when all they had to do was lose, and they would have got the Leafs in round one instead of this really hungry Tampa team? And I said, don't blame the Panthers. Boston screwed it all up by losing to Ottawa. All Boston had to do was beat Ottawa, which everybody does, and it would have been the Panthers and Leafs in round one. You know, and so that's the feeling, just so you know. This is from one very wise veteran pro scout, that you want the Leafs ahead of Tampa, and that's probably true. Am I getting to a point here? I'm not sure. But Allie in Texarkana writes in. She says, I think the Leafs win the next one. And she says, absolutely, hunger matters in winning it for sure. BW in Edmonton says, Toronto has not beat Boston in the playoffs since 1963. The streak will continue this year. And it very well may. I mean, I picked Toronto to win, but I guess I didn't look up the fact that they're 0-4 against Boston in the regular season this year, which does matter a little bit. But to go to history, they say history is the best predictor of the future, right? In society, I think it is. Not in sports, because if that was the case, the Vancouver Canucks would have never clinched first place in the Pacific Division. They would have tanked again, and they didn't. They reversed the curse. They're in great shape, beating Nashville 4-2. You know what I mean? When it comes to sports betting, I really don't think history, hunger is a lot more important than history this time of year. Okay, finally, I talked myself around to the point that I tried to make.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. You know, that used to be the story back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the Leafs had their great rivalry with the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa always beat the Leafs every game in the regular season with Alfredson and Patrick Lalime and the guys they had there. I thought they always won the regular season series, and then the Leafs beat them in the playoffs. So hopefully, you know, for the Toronto fans, that continues in terms of losing the regular season series to Boston, beating them in the playoffs. But they've never beat Boston in the playoffs in this generation in a long time. So we'll see what happens. But in every movie, there's you always take a shot. The hero takes a shot. Everybody takes a shot. It's how do you get back up? And it's a 7-game series. It's not a 1-game series.
Oh, boy, we got some good stuff here. By the way, Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in regarding to where have you all lived? He goes, in your life, he goes, Calgary, Red Deer, Calgary. And he says, you'd think the media pressure in Toronto would be motivation enough. It actually works against them, and I'll tell you why. In a second. And Camper 27 in Manitoba, because we're very big in Manitoba, says Rossburn, Brandon, Rossburn, Winnipeg, Brandon, Winnipeg. So, yeah, just ask. People are wondering, why are you reading like a road map? I'm asking our friends where all of you live. I find it interesting. I'd love to know. It's very interesting to see what shapes people's opinions, by the way. But here's the thing with the Leafs. It isn't even as much the media. While they can be annoying and a problem for the Leafs, how about this for the fans? Just think about this for a second. When the Leafs won round one last year against Tampa, and the fans there started chanting, we want Florida, we want Florida. Remember? They still talk about that here. They made T-shirts out of it, we want Florida. And that wasn't the media nor the Leafs players. That was the idiotic fans that gave the Panthers motivation that they still talk about. Think about that for a second, Darren. It was the fans. My God, what if Leaf fans actually realized they were the reason this drought goes back to 1967? Because It's at least as much the fans' fault as the media. Deal or no deal?
Deal. You know, it's just tough. You don't want to have bad karma around the team. And the same thing with people being upset that they got to play Boston in round one. Well, you got to slay the dragon to slay the dragon. You can't, in all these dang metaphors popping up. But, in Mario, you can't just dance around the dragon at the end of the level and sneak through the door and leave. You can't, sneak past him when he's jumping. You got to defeat the dragon. You have to go through him. And the only way to, go through it is to go through it. So here we are. And, I think if you can get past Boston, this will be the biggest win that this team could possibly have to set them up for a chance to actually do something. But it's not going to be easy.
I'm really enjoying the kibitzing with our audience here. We are the most interactive show on TV, radio, or streaming. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, as far as where he's lived, Prospect, New York, Waterford, New York, Half Moon, New York, and finally Saratoga. Navy Dawn says, 1 year I'd like to see a Winnipeg versus Columbus Stanley Cup final just to see the hand-wringing of the suits at NHL headquarters. Don, you got a chip on you should be sponsored by Old Dutch or Tostitos. The chip on your shoulder is so big. I don't think the NHL office, well, by the way, Winnipeg, Columbus, Stanley Cup ain't ever going to happen anyways. But number two, ESPN2 showed that game last night, and as Pat McAfee said, that place is bananas in Winnipeg. I don't necessarily really think they care as much about the markets. I guess, maybe. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think you put way more emphasis into that than you should. Do they want a New York, LA? I don't know. Maybe we can talk to Scott Laughlin about that. He's coming up next from SiriusXM NHL Radio. Also on the way today, Rich Sutter and Ryan Leslie. It's a big hockey day. Moose, we'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
We will be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes, and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seats Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour. You're as cold as ice. May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Just a reminder, everybody, when we talk hockey, it's brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company out of Calgary, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Check them out at commoncrown.ca or stop by their tap room, 28th Street Northeast. Can we please bring in Scott Laughlin of SiriusXM NHL Radio on a very busy hockey day? Scott, 2 points before I turn it over to you. Please hold your response to the end. Number one, a thank you for making me feel so happy every morning when I listen to you, and I have for years. You and Gordon just makes me happy to tune it on and start running. And number two, at the gym. And number two, brother, if you weren't watching The Breakfast Club in the 80s and you don't know who cult leader Jim Jones was, what the hell were you doing? You're not up on 70s and 80s pop culture. What were you doing?
Oh, that's a great question, Rod. Yeah, I've never seen The Breakfast Club, and I've never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And people are always like, what? How can you have not seen that movie? And then I get into the 90s or whatever the heck it was, I guess right around the Mighty Ducks. And when that trilogy came out, I said, look, I'm proud to say I have not seen one Mighty Ducks movie either. And I don't think it's on my things to do list anytime soon. I'm sorry about that, Rod.
It's all good, man. I don't know what you were into music, though. I'm not a music guy. You're a big music guy, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that probably on average, I listen to at least 1 hour of music every day. And I've always said music's great because depending on what kind of mood you're in, it can bring you up, it can bring you down. Somewhere in between, I think there's always something that kind of fits the bill. And if I may say so, that's why I love SiriusXM, actually, because there's a genre and a decade of music for whatever flips your fancy.
Oh, it's amazing. It's really, really, really good. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you to take a swing at our poll question today. It is, what's the Leafs' concern level? What should it be? High, moderate, or low with all they got going on into Game 2 tonight?
Yeah, I voted for high. I think there are many questions right now with regards to their goaltending. I think it's a tough time of the year, certainly, to have these questions. And you say, okay, our number one's not going. How about number two? Well, number two hasn't been the same since coming back from that high ankle sprain that kept him out for a couple of months. He's far from the goalie that he once was. So I think they go back to Samsonov tonight. You roll the dice. You hope he gets it back again, because if not, it could be a very, very quick series. Because when we saw what we saw on Saturday night, it doesn't give you a lot of hope that if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, that this is going to be a long and competitive series. Tonight will tell the tale, though. They've got to be smarter, stay out of the penalty box, and certainly a goal from Matthews or a goal from Marner, that would certainly help the cause, I think, as far as the Leafs' perspective goes.
Do you watch all teams the same amount, or would you say you watch, like the Leafs, for instance, because you're in Toronto more than the other teams, or you know what I'm saying? Who do you watch the most?
Well, it's a great question, Rod. I mean, look, I grew up in these parts, so obviously that's my first go-to game. But the great thing about what we do on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio is the fact that we get to cover 32 teams. And if I had to talk, quite frankly, day after day after day about the third and the fourth line of the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the seventh defenseman, and whether or not he can draw in at the expense of TJ Brody, that would get to be a little bit boring, a little bit monotonous as far as I'm concerned. So I'd much rather talk about all the other NHL teams, which makes it a lot of fun.
Well, the reason I ask is you can't watch them all. There isn't enough time in the day, and you're not a general manager, so it's not really your job. But the point is, when the Panthers were up there in Toronto, if you recall, they were up 5-1 Toronto after 2 periods. Panthers stormed back, and the Leafs barely held on, but they toyed with the Panthers that night. It was a Monday. They toyed with them. And I was like, uh-oh. Now I'm sitting there going, where did those guys go? Was that a one-off?
Yeah, I think it was, Rod. I mean, this is a different type of game. I mean, you've watched it long enough. I've watched it long enough. We know it's a different type of game come playoffs. Austin Matthews hasn't scored a lot the last number of playoff games, and 69 goals is great, but you've got to find a way to put the puck into the empty net early in the second period on Saturday night to draw your team even. Mitch Marner's got to find a way to make a play. Heck, at this point, William Nylander's got to find some way to get back on the ice. If all this happens, then the Leafs can be more like the team that they are. They, a lot of times, are a team that has to outscore their mistakes. And if you're not scoring at playoff time, what are you doing? Because that's what this Toronto Maple Leafs team is composed of. Offensive-type players, hopefully some timely saves, and good enough defense to win. But if you're not getting the offense, the Leafs don't have a chance.
Okay, well, there's always an upset in round one, at least one. Last year it was Florida over Boston. What have you identified this year, do you think?
Well, you know what? I'm still staying, Rod, with the Predators in 7 games over the Vancouver Canucks. I think from what we saw last night, I think for a couple of periods, Nashville proved that they can play that frustrating type style. They really limited Vancouver's opportunity. They went to sleep for about 12 seconds, as we know, and that really cost them the game. But I think when you talk about UC Saros, you've got the perennial playoff guys like Ron O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, although I thought he was kind of invisible last night for Nashville. I think when you throw in some Roman Josi, Luke Shen, Ryan McDonough, these veteran guys who've been around and done it before and made some long playoff runs, I'm still taking Nashville to win in 7 games over the Vancouver Canucks, which is hard to say because that atmosphere last night at BC, as we all saw, was lights out good.
BW in Edmonton writes in and says, I have not seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off either. That's from BW. So when people say, Bueller, you two are lost. You have no idea what they're
No. I'm aware of that phrase. I mean, it's been used so much, of course, in pop culture over the years. I'm well aware of it. I'm well aware of the fact that he used to walk around wearing a Gordie Howe number 9 Red Wing sweater. I know that much, but that's where my connection with that movie ends, Rod.
That was his friend Chip, not Ferris Bueller.
Okay.
But anyways, Navy Don, with regards, he's like, I'd love to see a Winnipeg Columbus Stanley Cup just to see the suits hand ring. And I said, you got too big of a chip on your shoulder, Don. He goes, I'm a supporter of the little guys and gals that don't get respect from the suits in New York and Toronto. Do you think the NHL head office has a dream matchup in their mind? Would Winnipeg Columbus be curses and curtains for this league?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be for a ratings bonanza. It wouldn't be anything, of course, like that. I think ideally what they'd like to see clearly would be the Rangers against the Kings. Now, the chances of that happening are probably pretty slim, especially when it comes to the Los Angeles Kings winning the Western Conference. I would say that's probably what they'd look for. I know in 2012 we got close, right? We got New Jersey against the Kings back in 2012. We got the Rangers in against them, of course, in 2014 and that sort of thing. If they can go back to that sort of setup, I think that would be ideal. I have picked, Rod, and this will be music to your ears, I have picked the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup, and the Panthers are going to beat the Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup final. So I've got Florida over Winnipeg in what I'm calling the Paul Maurice Cup. I think that'll be decided coming up in about 2 months' time.
Wow. Dude, that's a book waiting to be written, by the way, because I sat there just listening to Paul Maurice at his news conference yesterday after the game going, this man is a genius. He's a savant. Yet time ran out in Winnipeg, and they got a great team, too. Like, what that says, I don't know, and it doesn't need to be sorted out today. But somebody needs to look into this and just go, what went down there? It's interesting, by the way, that you would say, because I said Dallas, Carolina. You're saying Winnipeg, Florida. Good friend of mine on the weekend, Trent Fraser, he's a hockey football guy, said Rangers, Canucks, rematch of 94. Do you ever remember where there's no clear-cut favorite at all?
Well, I mean, we just had to look to the final couple of weeks of the regular season, Rod, and all the teams, a handful of teams that were in it right up until the end to win the President's Trophy. So I think it's highly competitive right there at the top as well. Again, there were going to be some long shots. I think when you look at the Rangers Capitals series, I think that's what people first and foremost would say would be the most lopsided matchup on paper. And maybe from what we saw yesterday, I think that the Los Angeles Kings clearly are going to go into tonight's game at Edmonton as heavy underdogs in that series as well. But beyond that, though, anybody can make a run. And that's what makes this league so impressive, I think.
And coming off an all-time revenue record, $6.2 billion. Everything's good, and you're a huge part of that, Scott. So I'll thank you again. Thanks for making me so happy every morning, and keep up the great work. Enjoy the hockey.
All right, you too, Rod. Thanks for having me as always.
Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio. We'll come right back with a sports update and audience takeover right after this. We are live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We don't even have enough time in this segment to get to all we have to, but we'll try as much as we can. I'm looking for a comment here. I was asking the audience, where have all you lived? That was going around Twitter on the weekend. I was just enjoying reading people's responses. Casey in Winnipeg writes that he says, born, bred, raised in Winnipeg, but I did find the RP show in the early days on Facebook while in Thailand. How about that, Rick?
How about that?
And Clark, if you have a hand free, can you put up the photo? This is from my guy, Brent, in Florida. You see him every day over my shoulder. This was us fishing, catching a sailfish. That's Brent and his gal, Bree, at the game one yesterday, celebrating, I guess, the Verhaeghe goal, the game winner. That's, again, he's down on the glass. Hope you don't mind me showing it, Brent. So, yeah, everybody, that's what he looks like. There you go. Mystery solved. So he just sent that to me. I figured he would get in a few crowd shots from the game. Sports update before we delve back into a geography lesson. From the NBA, Jason Tatum notched his first career playoff triple-double with 23 points to lead the Boston Celtics past the Miami Heat 114-94 in game one of their series. In L.A., James Harden scored 28, and L.A. defeated Luka Doncic in Dallas to win their playoff series opener 109-97. Damian Lillard scored all 35 of his points before halftime, and Milwaukee withstood the absence of Giannis Antetokounmpo to defeat Indiana 109-94 in their Eastern Conference playoff opener. And in Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of Hamilton, Ontario, scored 28 points, and top-seeded Oklahoma City edged New Orleans in Game 1 of their first-round Western Conference series. I don't know where else I can put this, so I'll put it here. The voice of the Pelicans, I heard a clip of him when they win. He says, let's get the flock out of here. How about that, Clark?
How about that?
The Toronto Blue Jays road trip continues as they open a 4-game series with the Kansas City Royals tonight. The Jays start lefty Yusei Kikuchi against Royals righty Brady Singer. Toronto at 12-9 sits fourth in the AL East. Sports updates for Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And for Landmark Cinemas in theaters now, Landmark Cinemas Civil War, starring Kirsten Dunst and Wagner Moura, a journey across a dystopian future America following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. Sounds good. I might check that out. Might even go to one later today. You might see a theme with some of our viewers here. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta writes in and says two things. Number one, why don't NHL TV broadcasts show the from behind the net view way more, not just randomly on power plays? And two, Trevor Bauer's last start in the Mexican League, 6 innings, 0 hits, 14K. Then he goes on to say Nora, Saskatchewan, Tisdale, Saskatchewan, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Medicine Hat, Calgary, Grand Prairie. From Buffalo Bill, he says, lived in Northwest Crosby, Kenmar, Stanley, and Minot with a visit to Oklahoma. I said not where we visited, everybody, or we would be here all day. Darcy in Saskatoon says, I lived in Anaheim, Moose Jaw, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Kirk in Toronto, Val d'Or, home of the Ferrier, Quebec, Toronto, Mississauga, Toronto. Kenny Collins, he's in Vancouver. Kenny, Regina, Moose Jaw, Surrey, Langley, Vancouver. You're still the best, Rod. Go Canucks. Hour 2 coming up right after this.
capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The race for the Cantera Seed Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was fascinated last week that Jerry was pounding Egg McMuffins like it was his job and dousing them with salt because he didn't care because he's 80.
How about that?
So what better, shrimp cocktail or Egg McMuffin? Don't waste our time. It's Egg McMuffin all day. And don't get me started about those puny little cocktail rings that you buy. They're disgusting. Egg McMuffin's good anywhere. That's right.
It's the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it absolutely is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. I don't know about you, but this one's moving real fast. Last hour, I appreciate NHL Radio Scott Laughlin for stopping by. This hour, we've got Rich Sutter and Ryan Leslie coming up. They need no introduction, nor does this guy, Darren Moose DuPont. Come on in, Moose. I guess this is his final segment. I don't know if we should be playing our breakaway bets in the Stanley Cup playoffs on a game-by-game basis. It wouldn't hurt, I guess. I had so much fun doing it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about you in the regular season. Our viewers did. I did. Where Darren and I picked the games straight up on a nightly basis. Well, don't let me forget. We'll do it a little later on. What did you say was your Stanley Cup? Carolina, Dallas, with Carolina winning? Or was it Colorado, Carolina? I can't remember. It was Dallas, Carolina?
And Carolina winning, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, hey, you're the co-host of the show. It's pretty important to me. Nobody else's opinions do I keep track of, but that one I did. I find it quite interesting that last hour, Scott Laughlin predicted a Winnipeg, Florida Stanley Cup final. And I was really proud of my friend Trent Fraser, or proud, forgive me for saying, of myself, that Trent would tweet this yesterday. He goes, my friend Rod predicted a Dallas. Trent he's a marketing whiz, won a lot of awards, and he has a lot of leather-bound books.
too. But he said, my friend Rod likes all opinions and, or different perspectives. And I'm like, yes, I do. And he goes, and I think it'll be the Rangers-Canucks Stanley Cup final. And I'm like, said no one ever, but maybe it will be. He's a big New York Rangers fan. And my friend Kevin Gallant, who might be watching right now, Hall of Fame broadcaster. I think Kevy said for sure Vancouver to the Stanley Cup, and I think he said beating the New York Rangers. And it's pretty wild where you go into a Stanley Cup run like this. Like over the last few years, guys like Rich Sutter, Darren Dreger, guys who I really respect a ton, all said Tampa, Colorado. Vegas got a few, but they always seem to zero in on the usual suspects. And this year, it's not that. And if you're the NHL, you must really like that, I would think.
Oh, yeah. You get a little variety in here. You get a little bit of, I love, and I said this at the beginning, one of the, last week when, we were talking about how much the NHL business has grown, when all those, key markets are playing really well. Yes, Montreal's not key market in Canada, but the Oilers with McDavid, great. It'd be great if Crosby was in the playoffs, about the only thing that's missing. But you got Ovechkin in the playoffs. You've got LA is good. You've got New York. Both teams in New York are good. The Leafs are there. Boston. You got all these different teams. Now Dallas in the huge state of Texas, one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. You got all these markets and personalities and storylines. It's just so great. And we get 9 weeks of this, man. It's just awesome.
That's why yesterday, 12 hours of hockey, I had to chill out and close my eyes. Can't do all this. I was always the guy that fizzled out early. Anybody who knows me from this business, the 36 years I used to be the guy that flared out. No. No, I don't know how people can watch. I feel like there's a lot of people that did watch 12 hours of hockey yesterday and woke up today fresh as a daisy, ready to do it again. I'm like, yeah, I can't. Nope. With regards to where all have you lived, I knew it would be popular, and that's just a fun theme of today's show. Where all have you lived? David in Winnipeg writes in and says, David number 1, he says, Thompson, Winnipeg, Altona, Winnipeg, St. Anne, Winnipeg, all in Manitoba. Keep it rolling, Jets. Thank you for, okay, we got a lot of P1s I've noticed, the Rod Squad, because every time I go to turn my attention away, there's somebody here that I haven't read. Wayne in Victoria, BC, says Melfort, Saskatoon, Kindersley, Weyburn, Saskatoon, Victoria, Regina, then Victoria. Gotcha. I'm going to re-up, Darren, where we opened up an hour ago, just to refresh everybody. It's a big hockey day, and most days will be for the next 9 weeks, as Darren pointed out. Captain Adam Lowry and Kyle Connor each scored twice to propel the Winnipeg Jets to a 7-6 victory over Colorado in Game 1 of their first-round playoff series Sunday. It was by far the wildest game on Sunday. In Vancouver, Dakota Joshua scored twice and had an assist, and Vancouver stormed back for a 4-2 win over Nashville in Game 1. In New York, Jimmy Vesey had a goal and an assist. Artemi Panarin also scored, and the New York Rangers beat Washington 4-1 in their Game 1. And here in Sunrise, Carter Verhaeghe tapped in a pinpoint pass. Woo, is it a thing of beauty from Alexander Barkov for the lead. 58 seconds into the third, Matthew Tkachuk had an empty netter, and the Florida Panthers beat Tampa 3-2 in Game 1. Stammer scored with 9 seconds for Tampa to make things interesting. But and then tonight, Toronto at Boston. Bruins up 1 game to none. We still don't know if William Nylander will play for Toronto, but I think we're all leaning to that he won't. Which reminds me, the poll question today is, what's the Leafs' concern level? What should it be right now going into Game 2? High, moderate, or low? And the vast majority says high. You should all be really worried. Islanders at Carolina. The Hurricanes are up 1-0. Vegas at Dallas, Game 1. LA at Edmonton, Game 1. I'll go along with Gordy Stellick. He's on the radio every day with Scott Laughlin, and he said there's a couple teams in these playoffs that look like they're just happy to be there. And that's Washington and the Rangers, Washington and the Islanders. And I can't disagree with him on that. Before I talk about coaching, do you have any thoughts on my recap, tonight's games, anything, before I move on?
No, it'll just be good to get, the rest of the NHL in action. And I'm excited for those Oilers fans to finally get their playoff series going. Even though, when I was looking at a list, I think it was The Score had a list of the series, ranking them by watchability. Which ones had the most intriguing storylines. It was Florida, Tampa, Toronto, Boston that were the two most watchable series because of storylines, rivalries, all the rest. And Edmonton, LA was near the bottom, basically because this is the third time this has happened. Games are going to be late. Not a lot of intrigue into this series, but I know for Oiler fans, they can't wait to get it going, and I'm happy that they get on the ice tonight.
It's fun. Where did you say that was at The Score? Wrote that? TheScore.com? Yeah. I mean, it's so biased and subjective, but I like I like the results of that, but that's just fake news. That's where you can spend your time on it or don't, The Florida-Tampa series here I love because I can go to all the games and plan to go to most. You've been to Florida. Everybody's in a good mood, at least in our circle. There's a lot of happy and bouncy, there's no fighting in the stands between Tampa and Florida fans. Not at all. It's nice. It's really nice. But what I also find interesting was the comment here from Navy Dawn about how the NHL would dread a Winnipeg-Columbus final. And that's where I'm not a good one to ask. Because I've said forever, I can find anything in a game that'll make it interesting. Just throw me the stat sheet going in, throw me the game notes, and I'll give you a reason why you should watch. You know what I mean? That's what I've always been. That's why I have a show, as Jeff Chikrin would say. That's why you have a show, Rod. You do look at things differently than me in some regards, and maybe that's one. I mean, Winnipeg, Columbus, I'd watch it. But I remember last year going into the World Series. Now, I'm not a baseball guy, but it was Texas and who? Clark, you're a baseball guy. Do you remember? It was the Rangers and whoever. And on the radio here, they said nobody's going to watch it because there are two teams that nobody cares about. Turns out it's one of the lowest watched World Series ever. So maybe, I don't know what I'm talking about. Would that be a bad matchup? Winnipeg, Columbus? I feel like Arizona, thank you, Arizona, Texas, and that nobody would watch, and apparently nobody did. So I'm going to be watching no matter what, the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm a bad one, is my point.
Yeah, and I know, whatever, Winnipeg, Columbus might not be the most sexy matchup. I get what you're trying to say. But on the one hand, the league will always look for reasons why it could be good, to get Columbus and prop up that market, and get them a win, I think would be great. Be good for Nashville to have, a winning team and get the cup, win a Stanley Cup. There's a lot of markets that you'd like to have a Stanley Cup banner. I think if the NHL had their druthers, I think every barn would have a Stanley Cup banner or two and some history that they could be proud of, that they can sell merch around and marketing around. They want all their franchises to be strong and healthy.
Yep. God. And then my mind just goes zing. And that's my own fault, asking our viewers where they all live. Bob in Saskatoon writes in, he says, good morning, hockey folk. Saskatoon now, Winnipeg in the early 80s, Jets fan for life. You see a theme of the people that are answering. There's that prairie bias. Hey, Alberta, where are you? I said to Serena the other day, with Calgary not in the playoffs, we're going to need to check on them. And Ryan Leslie is coming up from Sportsnet Flames, 111 Eastern. 111 Eastern. When the Flames miss the playoffs and they're not relevant, you don't hear from Calgary. Like, I'm assuming Calgary's still there. I haven't heard from my friends. I haven't heard from my relations there. It's off the map. We'll see you in September. It's kind of where Calgary is. But the thing is, I appreciate all the people that are watching this show that are prairie-centric, but then to have the second half of my life being here in South Florida and to be able to have a conversation today with the public address announcer of the Panthers. He wrote me this morning. He's like, hey, wasn't that amazing, that atmosphere last night? I'm like, bro, I'm watching the video again. Yes. I don't think it compared to Winnipeg. I do not, but it was hella good. And it'll be awesome tonight in Edmonton at Rogers Place. There's just something about that first playoff game in your barn. Go if you have a chance. But back to Winnipeg for a second. I'm not a coach, but I do play one on TV. And to be honest, I don't want to name any names, but I had to turn off NHL radio this morning because media was starting to think they were coaches. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm not going to name names. I don't like the idea of the Leafs changing goalies tonight. You scored one goal. How is that Wall's fault? Did he play? Didn't he in game one, Joseph Wall?
Samsonov.
Sam, whatever. Who cares? They didn't score. Let's blame the goalie. That'll work. Such a Leaf thing.
Too early for that. Way too early for that. And when once the game got out of hand, you'd like to have some of those goals back, but no, 2-on-1 right away, early on the first one. There's power play goal in there. No, I think it's fine. Like the one backdoor pass, they just had no chance on. No, far too early to change goalies. If he allows 5 goals again tonight, okay, he's probably not starting at home in game 3. But I don't think you have to worry after game 1. That game just wasn't going your way.
Let's blame the goalie. I was sitting there watching the panel yesterday going, damn, I love Henrik Lundqvist on here. Whether it was Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember. It all runs into. I saw somebody say that Lundqvist and Gretzky were boring, but they get why they're on there. And I'm like, I don't think neither one is boring. Listen to what they're saying. There's a lot of people that are on those panels because they check a box, as they say. Those two aren't. They're there because they look good and they're in the Hall of Fame. So listen up and stop bitching and complaining about everything. Give me a break.
Henrik Lundqvist looks great. He sounds good. I know we got to do breakaway bets here. But Jake Allen, the Devils goalie, was on the Hockey Night in Canada panel for the weekend. And I thought, you know what? It was some good insight. He wasn't like the most personality, but I thought he had a lot of really good things to say. And he could talk about the players in the game and what it was like to face different teams. He was phenomenal. Great job.
It's
by
quite
him
interesting. Yeah. A lot of people vying for those jobs, man. I can't imagine the pressure even that the broadcasters are under. King Henrik isn't, but a guy like Jake Allen would be, to see whether he's auditioning right now is what he's doing. Okay, man, this is my last chance. It's the Leafs' last chance. I'm picking them to win tonight. How about you?
I'm going to pick them to win as well. I'm with you on that one tonight. Series is even, 1-1.
These are one-game picks. This is it, just tonight, straight up. Islanders at Carolina. I've got the Canes. You?
Yeah, so do I. I got the Canes, too.
Vegas at Dallas. I've got the Stars.
I will take the Golden Knights to take game 1.
How about that? And LA Kings at Edmonton Oilers. I'll take the Oil.
And you know what? I'll take the Kings just to be the fly in the ointment. I don't know which way this is going to go, but I'll take LA.
Hey, just on the Stanley Cup final matches, would you watch? Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in, he says, if it was Winnipeg and Columbus, why not watch? They would be 2 good teams if they make it that far. Isn't that why there's a salary cap? So teams like that have just as good a chance as the big market teams? Well, it would be 2 teams that have never won a World Series or a Stanley Cup before, so that would make it interesting. I'm still thinking Arizona, Texas. But trust me, you don't got to worry about Columbus being in the Stanley Cup final. It makes me laugh. The notion of it. Okay. Great job, Moose. We'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Rich is in next, right? Yeah. All right. Can't wait. We're going to the bridge. Richie Sutter joins us next to talk Stanley Cup and a little junior playoffs, too. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The race for the Cantera Seed Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seeds Cup on Flow Hockey TV.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey everybody, here is your hourly reminder to reward your love of movies by signing up for Landmark Extras for free today. There are 3 programs to choose from, and with it, you can get more of what you love. Free movies, concession items, invites to special events. They got it all. LandmarkCinemas.com. For info and sign up. Okay, let's please bring in Rich Sutter. He is in Lethbridge. Let's say he's not traveling right now, but he will. We got him a rare moment at home. Rich Sutter joins us. How you doing, Richie?
I'm great, Rod. How are you?
I'm good. Let's start with this. There's a lot of Leaf fans watching this program, and our poll question is, what should the Leafs' concern level be? High, moderate, or low going into Game 2 tonight with all they got going on?
Well, I think with all they got going on, probably high. Look, they've got to score goals and win hockey games, and they know that. There's a lot of smart people there. They'll be prepared. It comes down to, is 88 going to play tonight? I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. Austin needs to have some puck luck around the net. Look, he's just because he hasn't scored in 3 games going back the last 2 regular season games, that he's had some incredible chances. So seems to, when he goes and he scores, the team follows. So, but they need to get some saves. Let's be honest too.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just making a note of your comments here. You've been through so many playoff wars. I mean, I didn't really like the quotes from the Leafs coming out of Game 1, like Austin Matthews saying, well, now we got a taste of what this series pace will be. You didn't know, but you get it too. You know what I mean, Rich? Yeah.
I think that was just a comment, probably off the cuff type comment. I mean, look, they know the Boston Bruins. Video nowadays, teams follow each other. I mean, look, and I'm sure the LA Kings sat in their hotel rooms in Edmonton last night, and Connor McDavid sat at his house and he was watching hockey. So teams know each other inside out. It's just like, you got to come to play. I mean, you got to find a way to raise your game to another level, but remain focused, remain disciplined, and also, I think the biggest thing is to remain patient within your structure and believe in it. And if the Leafs don't have all of that, then it's a tough road to hoe. It's like that for any team, though.
Well, and that's what I mean, man. Like, I don't want to spend enough time on that series anymore because, the rest of the country is. But it's not a cocktail party game one getting to know each other. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right from the jump. Winnipeg, Colorado. There was no waiting to see what the pace of that series was going to be.
No, that was wild, especially the first period. But I think Colorado has got to be concerned about their goaltending. Look, Jared Bednar is a great coach, good Saskatchewan boy. These guys know what's going on, know what they've got. I'm sure that Rick Bowness slept a hell of a lot better last night than Jared did, knowing that he's got a Vezina guy in net, and Connor Hellebuck. He gave up 6, but we scored 7. Well, my concern last night after watching that game was, come on, Gorgiev, we need a save here. Like 4 in the first 6 shots, 6 in the first 20 shots. I don't care what league you're in, what level of hockey you're in, you're not winning hockey games. Your goalie's not making saves.
Well, it's funny you say that. I would, of all the things I've seen bitching coming out of Winnipeg about, Hellebuck's 6 goals isn't one. People are complaining about the flyover for some reason. I don't know, but this is your era. I asked Grant Fuhr how he felt about his goals against average being so lofty career, and he was like, we won. He didn't care. Nor should Connor Hellebuck, I don't think, right?
At this time of the year, do you know what? I liked Adam Lowry's comments after the game. There was no consternation. There was no panic. Look, he goes, we got some things to clean up. We won game 1, and at this time of the year, there's always little things under the table that you think about internally. But at the end of the day, did you win? You won. So let's still be better, clean up some things, and that's more than likely their mindset and their approach today. Colorado's approach has got to be simply where are we at with our goaltending, because we can score enough to win. It's how hard can we defend? How much better can we defend? And can a goalie make a save?
Well, you know as well as anybody, you can't overcome bad goaltending. I don't think you can, but it's a little late for this discussion, isn't it?
Yep. But Colorado's known that probably a better part of the year this year, right? You can't rely on Nathan McKinnon to win hockey games for you every night. At some point, you've got to get goaltending, and at some point, at the end of the day, goaltending wins championship.
We have not talked enough on this show about the Edmonton Oilers against the LA Kings tonight. I've got the Oilers in 5. And by the way, you normally do nail the Stanley Cup winner, so at the end I'll ask you yours. But I don't think this will be a long series. What's your read on Oilers Kings?
Well, unless LA is going to change their 1-3-1, which Edmonton seemed to overcome the last 2 or 3 times they played them this year. I don't know how else LA is going to overcome. Look, you got 29 and 97 running the show, and you got a power play that's been just good this year. Can you imagine if they get back to anywhere near the numbers that are at last year come playoff time? I don't know about either team's goaltending. It still, to me, is unproven. LA's got the more experienced part, but LA's going to definitely find another gear and and not so much offensively, but another gear defensively to stop Edmonton. Have they got a shot? Of course they do. It's the playoffs, and upsets are always made in the first rounds. The first rounds are always seemingly the most entertaining, coming out of the hopper with the energy and the emotions. But look, I would like to see LA win. Personally, I'm an LA King fan. I just don't know how they get past. I think 29, 97 are difference makers, especially in the first round. Will it get tougher if they move on? For sure it will. But I think it's just it's a big thing to ask for LA to overcome those guys.
You know, it's interesting. You want to talk about the coaching vacancies, and that LA is potentially one of them. Like, is this not a audition for Jim Hiller right now with the Kings?
I think it has to be. I think there's a lot of people under the gun there a little bit, just not the coaching staffs. I mean, they've made coaching changes often in the last few years. I think there's a lot of people that shook their heads when they let Todd go. But at the end of the day, they know what's going on internally a lot more than we all do. So it's definitely there's an audition. If there's ever one, this is the one for Jim, because he's the one that's still playing, and his team's still playing. When you look around the rest of the teams, like you say Drew Bannister in St. Louis, interim, Travis Green, interim in New Jersey. You know, those guys are done. So there's a lot of conversation going on behind closed doors in those places.
Hey, before we continue on that coaching vein, selfishly, I'd love to know your take on Tampa Bay's game and a 3-2 loss here in Game 1 on Sunday. They did not look themselves. What did you see?
I certainly didn't like the first 15 minutes of the game. I liked probably about the 15-minute mark on to about the 50-minute mark. So there's a couple spots in the game. Obviously, starting has to be much better. Finishing, they did make a push after Tkachuk scored the empty net goal, but I still think that Florida's just got depth, and they got guys that can score at every line. They're deep. I still like Tampa to a degree, but I don't know how they can overcome Florida's depth. And Florida's got an edge to the game that I love. At the end of the day, it's two great teams, two great coaches, two well-coached teams. I think it comes down to depth, and Tampa's got Cooch, and they got Braden Point. They got some guys that can kill you in a heartbeat, but I just think you look at Florida's lineup, the depth is going to be hard to beat.
I agree, and that's why I picked them in 6. And you know where they got that edge is from taking their lumps the past few years. Tampa administered some of those, but eventually the little brother becomes the bigger brother. You know, you've lived it. Buffalo's looking for a coach in Ottawa, too. How soon? Do you think they'll have one before the draft?
I think both teams are probably waiting to see what might come out of, here in the next couple of weeks with other teams with their internal discussions on where they're going to go out with some people. But there's some very good coaches sitting on the sidelines right now that I believe are huge difference makers if one of them were to be hired, or any of them would be hired by those respective organizations. We all know what needs in terms of where they're at. Look, I think these teams are very close. The NHL is a funny league right now. Everyone believes they can win, or at least 2/3 of the teams in the league believe they can win. There's always a group of teams that are always, if you make some subtle lineup changes, add some things, take some things out of your locker room, are huge difference makers, Rod. And it's not a lot, but it's not easy to do. I think the biggest thing with these two organizations, it starts what kind of a coach do you need to have in there? And I think it's pretty obvious the kind of coach that these two organizations need. And that's someone that is going to be a little bit tougher on the players. It's time that these guys take other steps, can definitely have potential to take the steps, but I think it's got a lot to do with structure, what these guys can bring to an organization. Both these teams need to learn how to defend much better as groups. And I think that's the biggest thing. You bring in someone that is not going to let the best players off the hook and make them play harder without the puck is going to be difference makers. And I think those two teams can make those two coaching changes I think you'll see big differences in where these teams go next year.
We got about 2 minutes. The Final Four in the Dubs, intriguing. Saskatoon and Moose Jaw in the East. Prince George and Portland in the West. Both series are going to be deadly.
Moose Jaw, Saskatoon. Saskatoon's been the team all year, added to their lineup, much like Moose Jaw did. I personally like Moose Jaw's ability and their talent up and down their lineup more than Saskatoon. Saskatoon seems to play a better system. They seem to be more well-structured, more patient. They don't gamble quite as much as probably Moose Jaw would. I think patience is going to be a huge thing in this series. I think what team that will check better will win, will come out of that for sure. I look out west with Portland and PG. Look, I think PG is the best team in the league this year, but Mike Johnson and Mr. Gustafson out there, those guys have always, they're NHL experienced coaches. They'll find a way to have their players prepared against two very good pro coaches in Jimmy Playfair and Mark Lamb and Prince George. I think both series are going to be great series, all well-coached teams, lots of ability in both clubs. I think these two semifinals could be some of the best hockey played in the Western League playoffs quite a few years.
Lastly, we got less than a minute, but what's up with your career right now? What's next for you?
Well, look, I've had the last year or so off, paid attention to the league, I've watched a ton of hockey. I want to get back in it. This last year or so has been, I think, really, really good for me mentally and physically to get caught up. I know my experience at different levels in the game with pro teams. I know I've got a lot to give back. I definitely want to get back in it, at least for the next few years. And hopefully I can find a team out there that I can work with. I would love to do it. I'm anxious to do it. And I know I've got a lot to offer.
All right, well, let us know how that goes, Richie. This went fast. I appreciate it. Enjoy the hockey.
You too, Rod. Enjoy the hockey down there. Fun watching, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, bud. 13-year NHL veteran Rich Sutter. We're going to Calgary next. Sportsnet's Ryan Leslie joins us. Sportsnet Flames. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
of hip-hop's finest, Ice Cube.
You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, cause I'm back.
Straight Into Canada Tour. April 28th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I can't believe today was a good day.
Among the most influential rappers of all time, Ice Cube. On sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Always fun on the RP Show, talking hockey, talking crowds. James in Calgary writes in. James Junquist says, as a lifelong Canucks fan, that was the best crowd I've heard on TV. Go Canucks. And somebody brought up a Winnipeg-Columbus Stanley Cup final and how that would go over at the NHL head office. Bob in Saskatoon says, regarding Winnipeg-Columbus, NBA had many finals in their smallest market. San Antonio and the NBA survived. Yeah, I agree. Let's bring in Ryan Leslie because I know I want to know his thoughts on all of these things. How you doing, Ryan?
How about that? How are you, Roddy?
I like it.
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. How's the off season going for you? So, or is it the off season? You're going to be working some playoffs here, or what's the junket?
It sounds like right now I'm going to enjoy first round off season, so that's kind of nice, and it's great because all the Canadian teams that are in have great people there that are in those markets, and happy for all of those individuals who are staying with their local team. I know how fun that is, and to be a part of it. So right now, pretty quiet, which is great. Lots going on here outside of the rink. So, it's kind of nice, but it's fun to watch. I've got to dig in more so tonight. I've got a couple of games, which have been great, but I'm looking forward to a couple of tonight.
Well, I appreciate you fitting us in right now as you decompress a little bit because I know how busy it is. But let me ask you this. Just a Flames wrap. I saw the end of the season game. Looked like a nice atmosphere. Flames waving to the crowd. Some milestones were hit. What's your summation on the Calgary Flames, where they were and where they're going?
You know, it's interesting because I couldn't remember, Roddy, an exit meeting day that maybe had that much positivity. Now, don't get me wrong. Guys are upset that they didn't get to where they wanted. They had some time to digest that and let that kind of sink in. And there's certainly frustration. There's certainly, but I think the reality of the Flames situation was such that when you take 5 guys out of their lineup that were, key guys, and then you think about those milestones that you mentioned, guys who had some career years, the veteran guys, and Weegar and Kadri, it was his second best offensive season. Blake Coleman was sensational. And then you splash in some of the young guys who are not only happy to be here, but contributing and showing, the faithful that there's a little bit of promise here in this future. At least the stable looks like what you've got in the lineup and some guys that you've called in, that it's okay. We knew this was going to be a retool. This is how it's looking and feeling. This market is unique in that it's maybe not as cutthroat as other fan bases. It is a loyal one. It seems to be understanding. I think the Flames themselves have done a really great job as far as getting their message, and whether or not they've labeled the direction one thing or another, they've kind of shown what they're doing. And I think the fan base is bought in, understands it, and wants to get better. And so, this dark cloud that was hanging over it the last few years and maybe even longer seems to be slowly rolling away. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that anybody's happy with, not being in the postseason. But you get the sense that, okay, the way it's being reconstructed might be one that people can understand and get behind. So the locker cleanout, the exit meetings that day was realistic. I'll say it that way.
I sensed it from all the way down here, watching all you guys coverage. The players, the look on their faces wasn't what you would necessarily expect. And I heard the comments, like Kadri a month ago in the season, he's like, these players care for each other in this room. I don't know if he said we're family or we're brothers or something. I'm like, I don't hear that a lot coming out of that dressing room. So something happened, and I think Ryan Husky should probably get some credit for that, and certainly Craig Conroy's boss. They weren't going to do it in just 1 year. If anybody thought that, that was unrealistic.
Yeah, no, you can't think that way because it takes you a year to unload. It takes a full season to unload the players that you need to part with over the course of the year. You're not just doing it all in one day and then boom, you're happy. It takes some time to not only rebuild, but it takes some time to unload and make those trades. And then it takes some time, as everybody knows, to get those players up to speed. And what are those draft picks going to look like? Is he going to parlay those picks and that currency into something else? So way too early to look at winners and losers of trades. I think they feel good with the Lindholm deal. Kuzmenko played pretty well coming down the stretch. They like some of the picks that they acquired, and they've got a couple of young guys out of Vegas and Pahal and Miromanov that they seem to be enjoying. And now you wait to see what picks turn into players and what those players turn into in terms of NHL regulars. So time will tell. But, my theory, Roddy, is just be ready in time for the new building. And I think that goes across the board for anybody who's A, got a new building, and B, rebuilding or retooling or reconstructing. So that would be my own personal sense of, okay, if it's 27 or if it's 28, sounds like it's going to be 27. Be competitive, be good, and have somebody that you can market and have somebody that, that your fan base can get behind. A team that looks good for night one of the new building. And that takes time. You just don't flip a switch.
That's exciting. Man, I loved having you down at Century Downs Casino because I could fire all my questions at you. I only got time for one more. I know you have a special relationship with Matt. Are you kidding me? That was great, wasn't it? That was good. Wish we had more time. I never get enough time with you. That's the point that we're getting at here.
Well, maybe
you
one
have a
day when you
special
get your own
relationship
show,
with Matt. Yeah. You have a special relationship with Matthew Tkachuk. So how happy were you to see what he did in Game 1 yesterday? Get engaged, the week that he got engaged, all that stuff, man. It's going great for him.
It is. I had a chance to catch up with him when we were down there in Florida. Just so happy for him. That family's so great, been so good to me over the years. And just to see him having that success, he's determined. I was also in touch with Ryan Lomberg, who I just love from his time in Calgary. And, Sam Bennett's down there. I was going back and forth with his dad, Dave. And, you watch these players move on, and, you and I are the same age as their parents. So you kind of look at it differently, right? You're just kind of rooting for these kids to do well. And honestly, when it comes to Matthew, I just get such a kick out of him. And, yeah, he got engaged. She's lovely. She's wonderful. And he's on the path here to making some more noise in the postseason. And it's just, it's great to see. And I think, it was funny, you and I had a conversation once about this. And I know your podcast with both Florida teams, which is so awesome. And, somebody asked me about, who's going to go further this year, Florida or Tampa. And I had said, I kind of get the sense at the time, this was in the preseason, that maybe John Cooper and the Lightning are going to retool and just kind of, they don't like not being in the final, right? And so I said, I think maybe Tampa. Well, I heard about it. Somehow that clip or that whatever it was made its way to Matthew, and I heard about it for sure. So I'm not sure who. This
show was it not?
Yeah, it was. It was. And And somehow it made its way across his desk, and he's been a couple times throughout the year. He gave it to me, but it's great. I mean, you just don't know. They're two great teams. I'm happy for Coop and the Lightning to sort of found their game down the stretch, and now hopefully into the playoffs they play the way they want, because I think they're a really good team too. And I'm not sure if I would make the same bet. I'm pretty sure I'd probably go with the Panthers in this series, but I stay away from that. But it was good to get chirped for picking the Lightning.
Hey, these guys one day might understand. You're welcome for the motivation, you guys. You're welcome, by the way. And, you know, I was watching Lomberg yesterday. Just a freaking wrecking ball out there. And he was healthy scratch down the stretch. And I was like, you know what it was? Maurice scratched him to make him crazy. It worked. Right, to be grateful, yeah.
Be a hornet's nest and just go, and I love that about him. I've watched him all the way up, and you know, again, family and personal life right into hockey, and you just, this guy gets it. And hey, what team doesn't want a player like him? Every team wants a player like him. He's got that grin on him when he's just mucking it up, and just awesome. And so I'm happy for these guys. I think Florida's a really good team that, you know, is designed for this time of year. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb. Not one listener's going, oh, great insight. It's true. Everybody knows it. And I think that's a team that's going to make a lot of noise, and I'm happy for them. I think they've got great leadership, great pieces, great role players, great goaltending, a good blue line. They're gonna do some damage. But I can't wait to see Dallas and Vegas tonight. I'm looking forward to that one. Noah Hannifin's over there. You know, he's going to be playing with Pietrangelo, and you know and Chris Tanev's down in Dallas, and how good are they, right? So what a matchup.
Absolutely, man. God, I admire you as a great hockey chat. And what show doesn't want you, Ryan? You're the Ryan Lamborghini. You're the Lamborghini of television.
Wow, I'll take that.
You.
That is a feather in the cap from Roddy
There you
Pedersen.
go.
I'll take it.
How about that?
All right, man. Enjoy the hockey. We'll catch up with you.
See you, boys. Take care.
Over and out. Sportsnet Flames, Ryan Leslie. Man, that was fun. We'll be right back with Audience Takeover and a sports update right after this on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Foreigner, live in Moose Jaw. Foreigner is back. The Farewell Canada Tour.
You're as cold as ice.
May 13th, the Moose Jaw Event Center. Foreigner, with special guest, Headpins. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca and the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The race for the Cantera Seat Cup continues on Flow Hockey TV. The SJHL playoffs are on.
60 minutes and who wants it more?
Follow the race for the Cantera Seats Cup on Flow Hockey TV. The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. ICAST Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
The studio is in South Florida, as you can see, right in the heart of the Battle of Florida. And Game 2 goes Tuesday night. Loved talking about the junior hockey. I feel like you're not working in junior hockey anymore, and the leagues think that we don't follow them. We follow them crazy. Ask Rich Sutter one comment, and he's got a take on all the series. Jordan Ewart writes in, he's watching in the Queen City, and he says, will we see a series go more than 5 games? Talking about the Dub playoff. There hasn't been one yet. It'd be cool to see PG go to the Mem Cup. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says, go Moose Jaw. How about John Doe watching in Calgary? He says, go Wranglers. So, yeah, they follow every level of hockey in Canada. God bless him. Although, John, you lost me here. John Doe says, I have a little secret for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You need not worry until you lose a game at home. What do we do to him, Clark?
How about that?
Flog him at center ice. Probably my most hated adage in sports. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. Please don't bring it up again. Or at the very least, not on this show. Jen at the Four Seasons writes in. She says, excited and nervous for this game tonight. Little worried about our goaltending. Go Oilers. Well, as we said to Rich Sutter way back in hour 1, or was it hour 2? Hour 2 here. It's a little late to be worried about that, isn't it? Allie in Texarkana says, I'm so nervous. Well, like rocking in a rocking chair, being nervous. Gives you something to do, but you don't get anywhere. Sports update on this Monday. It's still Monday, right? The National Lacrosse League's new unified standings aimed to make every game count. This is the National Lacrosse League. Let me start that again. Their new unified standings aimed to make every game count. And it took until its 135th and final game of the regular season to set the playoffs for the NLL bracket this year. With Rochester defeating Philadelphia 12-3 on the weekend, the postseason field of 8 is set with quarterfinal play beginning this Saturday. The top-seeded Toronto Rock and number 2 San Diego Seals are joined by the number 3 Albany Firewolves and number 4 Buffalo Bandits in hosting single-elimination quarterfinal games this weekend. 2 teams, the Panther City Lacrosse Club in Dallas and the number 8 Rochester Nighthawks, punched their tickets based on the wild final weekend results. Meanwhile, the NBA playoffs continue tonight with a pair of Eastern Conference matchups. The New York Knickerbockers look to take a 2-0 series lead when they host the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Orlando Magic, meanwhile, look to avoid falling into an 0-2 hole as they visit the Cleveland Cavaliers. There are 4 NHL playoff games tonight, including a pivotal one in Boston, where the Bruins will be aiming to grab a 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 series against the Leafs. And the Edmonton Oilers open their postseason tonight by hosting the Los Angeles Kings. The Dallas Stars start their playoffs with a visit from the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, and the Islanders will be looking to even up their first-round series with the Carolina Hurricanes, who won Game 1 3-1. Sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Wednesdays are made for movie twosomes. Did you not check this out last week? Then do it this week. You don't got to be Jack and Rose from the Titanic, Han and Chewie, or Miss Peggy and Kermit to get 2 admissions, 2 drinks, 1 large popcorn, and 1 choice of candy for 1 great low price. But what you do need is a date or a partner to go. Landmark Cinemas Movie Twosome every Wednesday. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. And brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Check them out at commoncrown.ca, or better yet, check out the tap room. Oh, yeah, and Overtime is brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes. How could we do a whole overtime and not bring up our favorite stop in Calgary, Overtime Hockey Lanes, where skill and fun collide, 28th Street Northeast. Check them out. From Dallas, writing in, and he says, your Oilers listener does realize that Skinner won 36 games, right? You're reading my mind, Al. The same thing I think, because then Georgiev did win 38 and got shelled last night. So, yeah, it's a brand new season. You people will eventually remember it. Enjoy the hockey. We'll do it all again. Talk about it here tomorrow at noon Eastern.
Who has more fun than us?
So I see.